welcome to this short video. In this, we're going to be covering how to use the WhiteBoard app. So what we can see here is our backgrounds, our home page. If you weren't on the home page, you can click on the arrow here on the side, bring up your menu, and then click on the home page, and you'll come back to here. When you're at the home page, we have our WhiteBoard app just on the left-hand side here, which is generally where it's going to be found. If I open that up, what you can see is it's a dark blue screen. So not always the easiest sometimes in certain classrooms to be using that dark blue. So normally you think would work left to right to sort of cover these icons, but what I like to do is actually start with how to change the background, okay? Because it's generally the first thing you're going to do is pick the background that's going to suit the class and the lesson that you're going to be doing. So what we're looking for here is just this little palette button in the middle. Now, if we click that, we can change the color here. We can click through and then there's a variety of colors. They're all quite dark. So what we generally want to do, if you do want a lighter background, if you click customize, there's a little plus icon here. If we open that up, what we see is our file system. We're going to go into the local drives and WhiteBoard. And within this folder here, we have a few options. So there's a variety of worksheets here that you can have a look at. They will sort of cover in different subjects and they'll basically guide you in what you are able to create if you would like to. But what we're going to open first, just to get ourselves a nicer background, is colored and textured backgrounds folder. We're going to scroll down, and what I really like is the paper one. So if we click on that paper one, it's going to give us sort of a fake papered texture background. So if we've got that open, we can then click on the palette here and close that off, and this can be our background to work from, to start from. So we're going to hop back now. We're going to go to the left-hand side here. This is our pen. Now, with the pen, there's two options. It depends on what side of the stylus you're using. So there's a thin side and there's a thicker side on the stylus, and they can be set independently. So you can see those two options just here. There's a thin and thick button there. If I click on the thin one and I make that just say pink for now, and I click on that thicker one, and we can go with a dark blue. All right, we can get rid of that. What you see, if I use that thin end here, I'm going to create that pink line. If I turn the stylus around and use the thicker end, then it's going to create that dark blue line. If I were to use my own finger, I will always, or almost always, create that thicker end of the stylus. If I want to erase this and I want to get that done really quickly without clicking any buttons, I can just use the side of my hand and I can erase away. So within pen here, there's a few options. You can create a whole bunch of different colors. You can create different thicknesses. So using these buttons here, you can sort of change the size of the pen and what line it's going to draw. Now that is independent of the ends of the stylus. So you can have the thin end of the stylus creating quite a thick line if you would like. Now, if we were to make that disappear and we go to the next one along, we do have shapes. So with these shapes, there are a whole bunch of preset shapes. If I were to click on one, the colors for these shapes are just going to be set by what you've set in the pen settings. So if I use the thin end of my pen, I click and I drag and I can create a square or a rectangle as I need to. A whole bunch of different shapes preloaded. That line, thickness, and that color, as I said, will be set by the pen itself, not anywhere within the shapes button. Okay, so if I bring that shapes button back up, I do have some templates as well. So if you're a PE teacher and you would like to do a basketball court, you can click on that one and you can drag that out and it creates a basketball court that you can use. All right, so there's a whole bunch of different options within here that you can go through and have a look at, including music bars, grid lines, and some other options there as well. So we're going to get rid of that button for a second, and what you'll notice is the objects themselves, which are the squares and everything that I've created in the shapes, that's not actually erasable by a normal standard eraser, okay? Because they are objects, so you will need to select them when you want to get rid of them. You can still erase the lines that have been put over them or around them, okay? But it won't actually erase the object itself. So if we are going along, we can click on the eraser here. So if you want to be a bit more precise with your erasing, rather than using the whole side of your hand, you can use the pen here when you've got that selected and be a lot more precise about what you want to get rid of. At this point as well, if you go a bit further along, you can surround an object and cut it out or cut out a section, or you can slide and then clear it all off completely. If I want to bring stuff back, I do have a back key to recover what I've deleted. And I've got a forward key if I want to get rid of it again without having to actually delete it. So we can bring some stuff back on there. All right. And then we're going to keep scooting along here. And what we have here is just a button to minimize the bar. So if we had created a full image over the entirety of this screen and we wanted to show it unhindered, we can click that and it will minimize that bar just to a small button in the center. So we can bring that back up now. The next one is the palette, which we have discussed already. So we can open that and we can change the backgrounds as we need to. Even once we have objects or drawings on there, we can still change the background. I just find it's a bit easier to obviously cover at the start, just in case you change to a color that no longer works with the pens you've been using, the pen colors you've been using. This next button along is just to cut. So if I want to surround some stuff, it allows me then to manipulate that part of the image, okay? So I can copy it, I can delete it, I can rotate it, any of those options, and I can adjust that image or that object as I need to. So I can click off that now. This next one is if you've got a whole bunch of students that may be using different parts of the screen, it's our multi-touch. So these screens do allow up to 20 inputs at a time. So I'm going to show us 10. All right, so if I scroll along, I can clearly follow with 10 inputs, okay? And it is very accurate. It will keep up with me. And up to those 20 inputs, it will keep a really good track of people and actually really be, very accurate for what it's doing for covering that many. So I can click that off, and that just means that now I'm moving stuff instead of multi-touching when I use multiple fingers at once. Okay, so I can grab objects and I can move them. Our next two options here are save and load. So if I click on save here, it comes up with a few things I can pick. Generally, what you're going to be looking at is save to local and save to USB flash. Now, sending to email and printing has a lot of extra steps in the back end to make them function. So really, local and USB is generally what we're going to be focusing on. So if I were to save it to local, what I get when I click on that is a few options. So there's save whiteboard, so I can save it as a whiteboard file. Now those files are editable in the future, but they are quite large. So I'm going to cover how to do multiple pages soon. If you have more than sort of 5 to 10 pages, trying to save and load whiteboard files is quite a slow process because they're very, very big file. So generally, if you are creating big worksheets or if you do want to print it off, what you're going to look at is either saving an image or saving a PDF, because that then allows you to take it off the device to another device and print that out or send it out to students if you need to. So I can click save there, but for now I'm just going to click cancel. So as I said, local and USB flash is generally what we're going to be using. Identically, if I want to open things, I can click on that load button. You've got the local file drive. If you had any USBs plugged in here, you would see them here as well. And then you just guide yourself through to wherever that file is that you want to open, and you can just click on it once and it will open up and you can adjust it if you need to. If it's a whiteboard file, it will still be editable. If it's just a picture, it will just be a flat picture. Now, clicking off that, we've got pages. So this last little step here is pages. If I click on the plus there, I'm going to create a new page. So it's going to carry over the background that I have used on the previous page. So clicking on the two there, you can sort of see where I have multiple pages. So I can click through and create a few. So I've got 5 pages here now. They're all blank, but they've carried over that template and background from the previous one. So if I go to page 3 here, and I just change my background, so I'm going to go a blue background with some white grid lines, I can then see it on page 3 within that list. If I'm on page 3 when I click plus, it's going to create a new page with that same background just down at the bottom there, okay? It doesn't put it in line, it will duck it down to the bottom, but it will carry over both the texture and the background color. Just as simply through that, if I've got a page open, I can click on delete here down the bottom and it will get that page gone, or I can delete individual pages at different steps by pushing the little bin button on the side there. That's our whiteboard app. I hope that's going to help you in the classroom.